NTT Communications.
Yes, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure for me to share our experiences from SMA company with you. To be honest, it's not very easy for me. So it's a cloud conference, and our whole company is based on sun. So we have to transform the DC to AC, and I just asked myself, hey, what are you doing here? Yeah? But first, I would like to give you a short overview of what is SMA, what is our strategy regarding ICT, so how is our sourcing started, and the last part would be a short term of lessons learned for us all. So if you want, you can interrupt me anytime if you have any questions or concerns regarding my presentation. So what is SMA? SMA is producing these, let's say, red and yellow small boxes. These boxes are called Sunny Boys. So that's another point why I don't like the rain. And we are the world market leader producing these inverters, and with a market share of, let's say, 30 to 40% worldwide. For the last years, it was a tremendous revenue growth within Germany, but also worldwide. But the party stopped in 2010, and now we are just on the other way to reduce costs. And even this point was one of the, let's say, factors for the IT strategy to change our role within the company. So we produce the inverters, and the key function of the inverter is to change the DC from the solar panels or from other DC equipment to AC, so that you can use, for example, your TV or other equipment and use this by taking the solar energy. And moreover, we produce systems to steer and control your energy consumptions within your house or within your company. And we have battery systems, charging systems, and so on. So as you can see, the costs of the inverters, but also on the modules, decrease year by year. And for example, today you have to take around 1,700 euro for 1 kilowatt power. And 2 or 3 years ago, it was a price of, let's say, 2,000 to 3,000 euro a kilowatt power. So we estimate that in 2012 or 13, there is the break-even point reached, and then the solar electricity is cheaper than to buy the electricity from your provider in Germany. And this is, of course, depending on the sunny hours you have a year. For example, in Germany, you have around 1,000 to 1,200 sunny hours a year. But in Italy or France or other regions, you can reach, let's say, 2,000 to 2,500 sunny hours a year. So there is a much potential for these technologies and even for the price reduction in any way. So SMA can serve for all modules. We produce systems for on-grid, for off-grid, for island systems. We produce it for backup systems. And we are able to produce systems less than 2 kilowatt. I think the smallest one is a module or is a microinverter of 200 watt. And the biggest is within the industrial area more than 1 megawatt. Especially, I think, in India and in US, we have a lot of huge projects running and finished of more than 200 to 500 megawatts. So the home market was Germany, and the company is around 30 years old. But especially in the years, let's say 2008, 9, and 10, there was a tremendous revenue increase and, by the way, in the profit increase. And we decided to do a huge investment in other companies. At the moment, the export ratio is more than 50%. I think it's between 50 and 60%. And this year we opened our subsidiary in Japan, and we expect that Japan will be a very interesting market for us, a very huge growing market. And we hope to get our share on this country as well. But you can imagine with this increase of revenue, for example, in 2008 it was a revenue of 600 million euro, and in 2010 it was 1.9 billion revenue. There was a lot of problems even for the IT, not only for the business. And as you can see, we need a very flexible structure. From one quarter to another quarter, there could be a major shift. The business can go down, and to other quarters, it can go up. So we had one situation in 2010, I think it was, there was an uplift from one to the fourth, 4 times as much production as we had in the first quarter, for example. And by this, the IT has to be very flexible and has to be, let's say, very professional, very good structured. But as you can imagine, when there is such a growth of the company, there is no structure implemented. And so we have to do, on the one hand, to fix all the problems with the increasing market, but also to work on our structure and our processes, delivery processes as well. And one other major fact is we weren't able to hire all the people we need, not for the business, but also not for the IT. And this was one of the points where we decided in 2010 to work out our own sourcing strategy. It became a selective sourcing strategy, and I will show you some of the slides from our strategy. When we started in 2011, to work this strategy out, we figured out that what are the key drivers for the business. It is the cost awareness, it is the technology leadership, and for sure it is the internationalization. As you see, we have, let's say, 21 or 22 subsidiaries by now. But we plan to establish every year 2 or 3 new subsidiaries, and so this is a huge effort even for the IT. So what was the business strategy? To reduce the costs in 2012, to be the technology leader for the next years, and for sure to increase our revenue outside from Germany. And so we mapped it. What does it mean for the IT? Of course, we have to reduce our IT costs in the same way as a business did. And you can see several other activities we started and we run for the we run within 2012. So this is a small overview on our, let's say, 10 points of our strategy. So we described our service model, we described our role within the company, we described our service portfolio and other activities. And I will go deeper in 2 or 3 of these main activities or main guidelines we worked out. And for example, this is the one regarding our provider model. So what should be our model for the next years within the SMA? We want to be in a group-owned IT. We don't want to be, let's say, any other service provider, or we don't want to start any joint venture or any outsourcing in this way. And as you can see it on the first line in red, the organization is a central division within the company. So we belong totally to the SMA. Our customer is only the SMA and all the subsidiaries, no other customer. And we run our IT like a profit center, like an own business. Another example regarding the internationalization, we decided that there is a very clear standard, let's say, a central point within the IT structure. And the only thing is that we decided for US and perhaps for the next years that we will build up some competence centers outside from Germany. This could be in Poland, but it is established meanwhile in the US. And the main reason is we are not able to get all the people for the IT to do the work, so we have to share where can we use other facilities. For example, we bought a company called DTW. They produce Spulen, I don't know the English word, transformators. And so they have an own IT team within the company, and we are just in discussion with these guys if they can take over some of our activities from Germany, so to reduce the cost rates and to use, let's say, the high-skilled people in Poland as well for the whole company. Regarding the sourcing, which is another major point, when we worked out our sourcing strategy, we had so different models, and we discussed it internally within the IT, and we decided to do a selective sourcing approach. It was not the approach to give the whole IT to one or two or three of the big service provider. It was more or less the decision that we will run an own so-called lean service provider with own staff, and parts of our delivery will be transferred to other partners and to other providers. Entschuldigung. And we discussed it within the IT team and for sure with our board members if this is the right way. And this way gives us a lot of flexibility for the IT, so that we were very fast able to look for other providers to take over some of our activities. And we worked it out. What does it mean, this selective sourcing strategy? That means that we will not do all by our own. So we need other players and other partners to support us. And what does it not mean? That it is that we will become to a so-called retained organization. That is our target, our goal, only to steer and control the provider. So there is a clear decision that parts, especially these parts which are business critical for us, will be in our own responsibility, and we will not plan to move it to any partner yet. So what were the criteria for the outsourcing or for the sourcing approach? On the one hand, for sure, it was the price performance, the cost reduction we would like to achieve. So on the other hand, it was the global reach. So with the establishment with the development of other subsidiaries worldwide, it was not easy for us to send our own team worldwide to all the countries and to build up the plans and build up the subsidiaries, the service and sales points. And so we need partner who is able to fulfill it in one region of the earth, or perhaps with the possibility to take over the network and other activities worldwide. And for sure, we want to take over some of the experience of our partners, not to develop to develop all our functionality again and again. So when there is a partner who has experience on it, take these standard solutions and don't invent it by your own again. So what were the NTT characteristics? The price performance was quite okay. I'm not allowed to say that it was brilliant, so we have to go in the renegotiation process. But this was supposed to be a joke. And I think NTT has a very good footprint in Asia, and let's say the whole network we run in Asia and data center facilities and so is provided by NTT. Yeah, and to go on, let's say for the next years, it could be that NTT will take over some of other networks worldwide to US or to other companies. And let's see how we will go on with a partnership to NTT. So this is a short overview on the activities and things we bought from NTT. This is the WAN service, the network service, the MPLS cloud, and moreover, we have a lot of contacts with Integralis and with Intelligence, some partners of, whether they belong to NTT. We run data center in Singapore services from NTT, and we use some cloud services, especially for the security. And we weren't able to fulfill these activities by our own. We don't have the right people, the right skills, and the amount of people to do it. What was the lessons learned? It was the selective sourcing approach was, let's say, was a huge journey for the people. We have a very young team, and the people are not really experienced in going to these negotiation processes in qualifying partners. But it was a lot of fun for the people, and they learned a lot within this journey. Yeah. So we built up an own training for 10 people within our IT. This training goes on for 2 years with very different contents like conflict management, like basics of contract management, and so on. And it was a huge learning process for us all within the IT. What was the result? So it was a turnkey partnership, and I just want to mention especially one point. When we decided that we need a VPN connection for our internal sales persons and for the work members and so this decision was made, let's say, in January, and within 2 weeks we implemented more than 1,500 VPN clients worldwide. So this shows that we needed a partner who is able to do the delivery and the implementation of the service worldwide that haven't been possible for us own. We don't have the people to do it, and it would have taken much more time to do the implementation for us. We still have no real problems with NTT. It's a good partnership. I think next year we have to work out some new contracts, and my expression is that we hope to work it out, our business together, and perhaps we can get some price reduction as well, so that it's good for our business too. Thanks a lot.
NTT Communications.